see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Best in chat. Does it link the chats together? Yes, it does. There we go. Okay. Nice. Okay. So what I've been doing is um I've been struggling with the setup for months because I was trying to use Restream. Restream was very temperamental over um how it got the connection set up. So what I've now got is I've got OBS doing everything using Atrium Multistream, which doesn't look like it costs anything. But both chats are now in the same window. It's awesome. So that's good. That's a positive change. I wish it wouldn't tell me the viewers. Go viewer account. I don't like seeing viewer account because it puts you off if no one's watching. Wow. Instantly put off. Okay. It should still be live on Twitch. Okay. Cool. So basically what I'm going to do is in here, I'm just basically making everything use ModuleDB, ModuleDB Kafka, and these are just the database connection strings for all these things. So when it starts up, it should have access to all these things. In Aspire, I would have thought the three names popped in chat were more off-putting than the view account. I'm starting to stream at 9 o'clock on a Saturday evening is not something I expect to get any viewers for. So, and just to get the stream tested and working again, great. So appreciate you. When I'm gonna look, it is a bit crazy how late it is. Planning. So I'm just breaking these out into individual modules so I can control the configurations and do all the other things for individual apps. I'm still not necessarily a fan of doing it this way because it's just there's 18C outside. Temperature is here right a second. Right now in 1864. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. 64. Yeah, London 62. Oldham 60. Yeah, about 20, 21 here. So okay, so I'm going to add planning to tasks. The way this is working, this is Aspire, and what happens here is when I add the gateway, it's going to add references to all those things. I'm exposing the app modules as one big collection of settings, etc. Probably going to break these other things up again because they need the databases as well, the views, etc. Because the problem is, previously I was running this all off my machine, off the same machine, so all the settings were working fine for local. Now, if I want to check it out on a machine and run it, it should still work as if I check it out on a remote machine. Part of the design problem was that have this token replacement thing. I wasn't being very smart about it. I was yeah, I had this with password, and all this with password does is go and get the environment variable for that, so that I didn't have to have the password hard coded in strings, etc. But it kind of let me down because once you move to remote dev, kind of have, you know, the environment is different, right? It's not going to pick up an environment variable from my machine. So just going through here, naming these consistently. This is the module DB Kafka outbox. Mediator B outbox. Good or bad, I did create an outbox for mediator tasks, and it gives me this disconnected method of dealing with events that happen within the module. Good. Gotta mimic that behavior. Module DB. Box. For outbox. That's the result. So now I go to task module, and this is just me trying to organize the Aspire development piece a little bit, so it's not quite so messy. Settings, API and receivers. This doesn't change. All that changes is tasks. DB tasks. Now that's just in here. Tasks. Settings. Helps if you actually have conflict there. Tasks. Probably not the best name. So just coordinating this one module to get this object to return back, so that in here in the app host, I'll be able to clean that up, and it just means the app host for Aspire is a little tidier. Good then. One of the benefits for me for doing this, one of the driving reasons I did this setup this way, is because now I can go and sit on the sofa and still do development reasonably. This requires quite a configuration. Not necessarily so memory intensive, but with rider running, etc., etc. My dev machine would constantly be sat about 60 gig, with all the database stuff running in Docker, and the Kafka stuff running in Docker, and the development environments. Because I have, you know, when this is up and running properly, I have 3 or 4 development environments open at once. So the memory resources are quite high. So this is running on a Max 395 with 128 gig in it, and the stream is running off the Max 395 framework machine with 64 gigs. So I figured it was the best way to do it. Yeah, again, I can go and sit on the sofa or the laptop now, still get development done. Definite benefit, if a little expensive. App modules. So we just got tasks. Oh no, that's done. Fine, that's that. That tidies that up quite a little bit. Tony, hello. How you doing? Blue Spider, welcome in. 3:30 in the morning for you, Tony. What are you doing? um, did a thing again. Uh, working. But these being mini PCs, now they're taking together, they're consuming less than half of what my full PC was taking. So I don't have to worry about the power. Um, it's not as scary. I can now switch between streaming games and dev. It's just it just needed me to buckle down and get it done. That's the problem. Okay, so this is going to read a little differently now. So these are not going to work. These ones are not going to do the same thing. So this is going to be attachments dot API. That's going to be organization management dot API, planning dot API. Oh yeah, that reads. Oh, bad name. Uh, responding from a live notification. uh, okay, I like the way that reads. That's pretty cool. Um, my my challenge right this second actually is I think there's changes still sat on my other machine. So tomorrow I'm going to have to suffer through some uh, discomfort while I get the machine turned on, so I can actually verify that I don't have a bunch of changes missing of this. So my goal right this second is just get this up and running. Um, I can commit stuff, but that's my primary goal is get it up and running. The secondary goal is uh, so now what what didn't change any of that. All tests, planning application test change, planning test. Test methods must have a reported return time. Uh, are you referencing? Or tell me something got referenced that didn't do. Um, so that suggests that planning application got a link to some 31.4. Ugh, 2:30 in the morning. Oof. I have a bunch of refactoring to do on this. I've reflected on since I last touched the code base as well. So a lot more to do. Why is planning shouldn't be planning domain? None of these should reference tasks. Shared kernel isn't shared. One thing quickly. It's common. Shared kernel. not domain. Oh, same out. How did that break that though? That's what's annoying me the most. Tasks. See. Attachments. Organization. I get the receivers aren't used, but the point is it's registered. This registers them with the builder, and I'm returning it. No, they were up 2-1, but the goal was taken away by a Haaland foul for push. Oh, that's a rough way to have that done. I did see there was some questionable calls. I was watching the live text of the game rather than watching the actual game, but I did see there was some questionable calls. But yeah, that's that's a rough way to go. That planning tasks. So basically, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to remove these from the actual apps. Um, I think that's the way it's going to work. Well, it should overwrite them, I believe, because these become higher level. That's I don't know why I'm referencing DB because they're connection string. Oh, fix. No, post fixing it. Creation. Getting connection string. Yeah, that's a rough way to go. That secret sting. App watches. Argentina already 1-0 up. How have I managed to introduce somewhere in here? I've managed to introduce a dependency on ask is an ambiguous reference, but it shouldn't be an ambiguous reference because it's not referencing planning domain. Whoa. Read the message. Have a task entity. That's best. Why is that only just become a thing? That's annoying. Um, global using task equals see. So yeah, I've identified a bunch of renaming that I need to do just to make sure a lot of this is cleaner. Um, get this up and running again properly. So, but I can't really commit any of this until until I figure out if I've got a bunch of changes that I never committed before finishing working on it for the week. Okay, so that solves the branch feature. Um, development. Possibly end up overwriting a branch that I already have. Um, it feels very strange to have OBS up and running, and OBS being open. Also, if I'm going to start streaming again, I'm not full on head. I got used to hearing my voice. So that's Spire app. That gets the app set. These other services are still going to suffer this same problem. So if I go here, add view services. So view is still going to have a database, right? We have view, and then we've got receivers here. It's the same pattern. I just break it out separately. But it actually should view. View is still the worst naming I've ever come up with. It's very literal in a lot of ways. Basically, it is representing everything that is on the display side of the application. The actual data that gets sent down, the storage of it is um, kind of the read module, a little bit more module, I think. I just keep deferring thinking about it because I've not yet had something that stands out and says, this is the name for this thing. So it is what it is right a second. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to take these. Oh, too different to in a slightly different way. Extension. Settings. Tables. Resource builder. I'm doing something I probably shouldn't do here as well. I'm building stuff just in case I need it, which is not something I would normally do. Yeah, what it is right this second. Um, uh, oh, that's why this is slightly. I need the ordering here a little bit. What static settings add you? Builder, builder that. What if I screwed up? Oh, static. The point of extensions. So var v view um a lot of them are referencing the same. Uh, that's going to be a big problem. No, it should be fine. Should be fine. We're going to get stuck on this password thing in a minute, but that's fine because another benefit of this is I can just make a module, add everything I need, and then put the database stuff in Aspire, and everything's set up there. Now I have the one thing that deploys it. The question will be when I actually come to deploy the application, how simple is that actually going to be now? New module, we get the module DB, and then uh, that with reference. Reference? Yeah, with reference, module DB, name, keep that. Oh, because it's all typed. Okay, I get it. Connection name, module DB. With reference, connection, module, Kafka, outbox, box, in outbox. They're all going to get the same thing. I believe. We'll go check that in a second. And now we have that return. Settings. Now in our post, we can get rid of view. That one. So entity changes and API are both web APIs. Entity changes sits there, and that's the SignalR hub for the application. So anything that changes gets signaled to it, and it pushes down to the client. So that's why that's sat there. Communications is the only one. These are MongoDB, but we also need view. Also need this. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So that MongoDB. Oh, we don't need the others. What am I doing? View does not need the others. It's MongoDB. Oh, hold on. This definitely doesn't. Don't think view receivers. Oh, it does. Yeah, it does. 7 outbox. B Kafka. Sure, it needs that. Action. Oh, okay, I'm heading in the right direction. I've been going back and forth over this. The robot overlords to check on. I find it most useful to kind of consult and go back and forth and talk about it and get the ideas out there to highlight the problems. Keep me on track so I don't lose track of. I'm doing an awful lot in something. That does have Kafka. That has a Kafka outbox. It does not have domain outbox. Interesting. Oh, this has Kafka as well, but does not use a database. That receives as the receiving of the event. Okay, that's why, because this publishes to Kafka. When something has changed, it's not the wider system that tells it needs to do something. It's something has changed in the view. The reason being, the view knows that if the view's confirmed it's got the data, then it can say, yeah, now you can see it, so let's tell you about it. If we just signal from the larger system, hey, something changed, and the view hasn't consumed that and processed that yet, then we would end up with out of sequence stuff. Yeah. Huh. Okay. So add view, add task, add planning. I got this management. We got rid of that. Communication services is pretty much the same pattern. So let me get rid of that now. Hey, Melanie, how you doing? It's been a while. Doing good. Oh, this is notifications and communication. It's kind of a bigger. It is communication and communication. Two sides of the same coin. Static, like record setting. I don't know any Rust, but now I have 2 times 25,000 line of code Rust code bases. AI is improving quickly. Interesting. 25,000 lines. That's pretty much the sum total of all this. As long as you're having fun. I'm going to miss so many things in not even funny. Add agents, setting. Grab. One is a file copy tool that runs in it to copy and check some verified files. The other is a group bot, so crazy ESP code. Ah, nice. Well, like Stony stuff. MongoDB. Put it down. These are not going to call the same database. File tool is because it's the local system stage. I'm not hashing. Hmm. Why are they? Why are they so big in terms of file in terms of code bases? I mean, I'm not saying it's a trivial task. I'm just asking, interested to know what makes them so big, or is it just because AI bluffing a little bit? This is probably not the right applications. I probably want to break these up slightly different. But Target one doesn't make a lot of sense. It's Rust, so it's worded, but the group box makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that can count. And management. That's going to get. Let's start with Diva here. Application database. It connection string. That's a MongoDB, but that doesn't matter. Module D base name communications. Go with that right a second. MongoDB outbox. File one does have a database that keeps track of those, so it's way overbuilt, not just bloated. Very specific. Hmm. Interesting. Kafka outbox now. By my own standards, this is going to be Apen. That's going to be a project reference. Communications Kafka reference. Now they're the same database in these cases. What I'm doing here is actually kind of allowing for them not being the same database, being completely different connection strings, and me not having to change every single app. I can just change certain things. Mostly around being able to routinely, if it fails in the middle of a 90 gig transfer, it pick up where it left off. And okay, so it's got the resume and all the cleanup stuff. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no worries. I'm happily reading stuff. I'm good. I'm just happy to be back streaming. So, and a Saturday night isn't very fair to most people who watch because normally I'm streaming at like 7 in the morning my time. So it's kind of throwing that off a little bit. But got to verify the setup, right? Module. That's communications. But notifications in there. I feel that this is gonna be communications receivers configuration Kafka. Oh, output. Oh, Ouch. Did I actually do that deliberately? There's receivers and I've got a database. Oof, that's not a good miss. I mean, I've not really focused on changes recently, but that's not a good miss. I will say though, I fell in love with Rust instantly after thinking I was going to hate it because it fixes the problem with exception. Fixes the problem with exception. Oh, if you develop Kafka, oh, because it's a package. Okay, Europe. Got it. So it's in Kafka developer Kafka outbox. Somebody. I say that I feel being that people are really bad at exceptions, Rust doesn't have them, but it bubbles up errors via error return. The same shape that exceptions solve without order. It's hard. The compiler forces. So it has a result pan, a result style built into it rather than exceptions. Interesting. Module DB Kafka outbox. That's fine. This only needs that one. Two is live changing its call function. What happens if that I played with Rust a little bit. I actually tried building a module for this in Rust. Well, I didn't try and build a full module with this. I just tried to build out, okay, if I wanted to do changes in Rust, say, because maybe it's faster or maybe it's more efficient on the memory, like passing out the changes and figuring out what changed and figuring notifications, etc. You return, oh, sorry, kind of bubbles. Okay. I got it reading from Kafka and pulling messages out, but then I'm like, the code didn't read. And maybe it's my .NET brain not hitting it, but it didn't read right for me, so it didn't click. Um, I just kept wondering why would I do this and make my life harder by trying to learn something new when I've got a whole lot more things to do. So maybe in a few years when things calm down, I can give it a go. But AI will have taken over. You know what the LLM made out of it was look first sight. Yeah, no, I've not had a good experience with LLMs. It's quite the opposite. Okay, so this is going to be high resource builder, object resource is going to be application. Got a module called communications. API builder. Yeah, the smells there, isn't it? They don't have a dependency upon each other. So wait for API. Receivers. Those two. Uh, Plenty of smell there for me. Do notifications. Notifications module. Notification. And yeah, post. Drop that one. Module notification. That one's invalid right now. Module. These are all the API references because the gateway. So these are all publicly accessible things. These all need this. And eventually past these will get more complicated, I'm certain of it. We also need to set a secret for something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Get there. Um, hmm, I'm thinking about Rust. I know it's like Go and Rust are two things that I've seen a lot of people give a lot of praise to. I'm still in that world of I don't know why I would jump to anything, but I do want to, as part of this verifying that things are realistic, I do want to build a module in a different language once I'm at a certain point, because I think it would be beneficial to highlight the way this system is designed. It is not. It doesn't have to be all .NET if it doesn't need to be. That certain pieces can be rebuilt or built from scratch in a different language in a completely different framework as long as they can communicate through the methods the system uses. I think it would be a very good demonstrator. And changes is the one thing that I think could benefit from something like that, because there's a lot going on once I get the nitty gritty of this. A lot of things are going to get more difficult. Changes is going to be a massive piece of what I want it to do. Um, so what does that look like? How do I build that properly? So there's a lot more to come there. Let's add notifications. Now, these are kind of a larger group. Drag and drop again. No, okay. Notifications and communications are the same but different. So, notifications has receivers, it has an API still, but it has static. Agent. These are MongoDB. Oh no, this is actually notifications actually isn't. Notifications is actually a real database. Awesome. Setting. Now this is a MongoDB. Interesting mix. Notifications. I take this. Notification. There's so many moving parts here that I am likely going to screw this up. And like what this is doing right this second is it's actually um it's it's using the same connection string for all the different connections that I'm adding in there because they actually all are using the same database. If I decide to split out the database, that's when this becomes really handy because I don't actually have to make that decision um, at the individual module level. I can make it at this level, which is the deployment level, and the application set up to deal with it. What I'm really interested to start seeing is if Aspire is ready from the Kubernetes side, because if it is, then I can build out all the Kubernetes pieces for this, and the app host will then be able to spool up the Kubernetes cluster based off of this. And technically, all my settings should be in one place. Notifications. I didn't need them in that order, but notifications module, but setting notifications. There's a repetitive pattern. Quite certain about the design, but it is making this a little bit more readable. I'll get rid of that. I don't end up with explicit naming like that, which I like that because it's generic. Changes service. Oh, it's similar. GitHub. Oh, there you go. GitHub. I need SME. Me. Um, this flag here is actually if you're running it through Aspire, this will happen. If you're running it through, if you're deploying it, this doesn't happen, which means that only when it's running as part of the Aspire framework stuff will this piece get done. Because the assumption would be that if you're publishing the application off this, the SME piece won't be necessary because GitHub will be pointing to the actual um, site's channel uh, posting back this information. So yeah, that's what that is run mode is. That's got a webhook API and receivers, but this is going to change. I think we'll change the style again. And identity is similar. I need to do this to all of these anyway. It's starting to look very necessary to have on modules. It's fine. This is growing disproportionately. Still hard to test this. So I need to though go back through these. You carried away with myself. To make sure all that applications change that change applications. I don't. Okay, so that B that after what's one's got a um if you are watching attention and not just questions, you're more than welcome to something. Always say theme, so we carry on that. We're back in that practice. So that's that configuration. So that has a mediator, a domain, and AfricaDB. This has the same thing. So B. Ooh, same thing. That's just bots top. So that's using in-memory outbots. Now that could be a deliberate choice. So in-memory outbots is literally um, if a set of messages get stacked up for it and it crashes, it's lost them all. But the benefit is it's probably fast and it's probably going to process through those quickly. Um, that's not really the best way of doing that. So I do have this using, and that's notifications uses an actual database, whereas communications uses MongoDB. And notifications is actually the thing that sends notifications. Communications is the thing that coordinates the notification, the communication. Uh, registration email. That sends it. Notification. That contradicts what I just said. Other way around. Other way around. Notifications is hey, I care about these things. I want to know about these things. And notifications is setting up what you get told about, and communications is actually telling you about them. But we do need that to be. I could do Mongo, Postgres. I have SQL Server, Mongo, Postgres, and outbot and in-memory outbots. Hey there, be flicking in and out along with the football. What app solution product do you want? Sorry for the next question. No, you're good. So I am working towards uh so this is Kaizu. This is my project management platform. This is the app I'm building. Right now I'm trying to get it to run again. After a few weeks of well, brand new setup. For streaming off of. So I don't have any of it running and I've got to make a bunch of changes. So this is a project management application. The idea being that as a as someone who needs to track what they're doing from a project from a co-project perspective, you can set up initiatives, you can track uh, ideas, you can figure, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's my goal on this thing, and then you can set up actual build out the the things you're going to make, track them through tasks, etc., and actually work on those tasks and deliver them. It looks a bit better than this now. Yeah. So the idea is you can see, oh, I've got all this work to do. This is what I've got in progress. This is what I got complete. So it's very much aimed at trying to keep that productivity high. Um, this now has kind of release management, so I can track, yeah, here's what I've changed and here's where I've done it. Yeah, what I am building. Welcome in. Yeah, nice. So if you've used Jira in the past to do anything, Jira is the thing I dislike the most. So Jira is the thing that I'm essentially trying to compete with them. that is that is the goal. Fun because add that dependency in? No, I did not add the dependency in. That's why. So the problem I have with Jira is one of it's kind of an everything tool, and it's very hard to organize and not lose track of everything. The goal of this product is very much kind of not is kind of making the information visible and available to people at the right time, in the right places, in the right way. So from a developer standpoint, developer just focuses on what they're building, and from a product management perspective, they see what they've asked for and how far along that thing actually is in terms of the things that the developers have said it needs to do. So everyone can look at it in the way they need to look at it. So if you're a CEO or CTO or whatever, you're not really focused on the, you know, what's this story doing? Is this implemented? Is this server configured? Is this software set up, right? You're focused on the, is this actually on track at the initiative level? So from management perspective, you can look at the boards and say, yeah, all these initiatives are on track. All of them are making progress against their estimated efforts. And it's trying to encourage people to put that in so that it's better understood, not on the fly. You don't, whenever you're making things up as you go along, and there's, some allowance, but every time you go and you're making something up as you go along, you're just adding what you need now, that kind of just in time delivery stuff, then people are like, where are we with this, or what's going on with this? And I want to get those questions answered, because those take the most amount of time out of people's days, is trying to track where everything stands and what projects are moving. So I'm trying to change it to be focused for each person on the things they care about the most, and making it visible, making them able to verify, you know, what is out there, what is being worked on, um, what the expectations are on those things, and whether the team is kind of on target based upon some numbers in the background, without actually saying yes, the team's going to hit your targets head on. So trying to make that communication a part of the system. Those are some lovely hard coded numbers. That's awesome. So anyway, all I'm trying to do right the second is make sure the app runs in this new environment that I've actually got set up for it. So that's the hard part. So the receivers actually do need database as well. Integration database, yeah, they need the database. We use mediator, but we don't use mediator. Notifications domain. That's telling me that. Yeah. I also could change this eventually. This is all different. Entity subscription drivers. Yeah, that won't work at all. Most of that I agree with now. Across daily. Yeah. It just I don't like meetings for the sake of meetings. I don't like disturbances on questions on things that should be very clear. I'm not amazing. I'm not some sort of superhuman, so I can't keep the context of everything in my head at any one time. But at least if I can see where things are going, everyone can know where things lie. So uh, we're gonna fix a bug. I've missed something here. Not good. So this needs the media, the domain outbox, because I'm relying upon that being there. This event won't get published. There's nothing watching it. Fortunate. that should look more like that. Need to add once. This might fix it. So, not the end of the world. This is the subscription for user. So, as a user creates a subscription, this is going to, yeah, this gets a, this is the received to entity subscription created. That's it. Subscription created. So that's not a big bug, but that's enough to be dealt with. DVD develop mediator. What's Postgres? Yeah, I'm always open to questions, thoughts, and opinions on everything I'm doing. I do not believe for 1 second that I am perfect or that I've nailed this. The bigger the project gets, the the less context I have of the overall system. Right, right now it's not tiny. Some might argue it's a little bit unnecessary, but enjoying it. So good to get back to code. Notifications. Okay, that is notifications. Fine. Notifications module does have the main outbox. Oh, this has it. Does have it on both sides. Again, I'm benefiting right now because they're all the same value. So yes, I'm copying and pasting quite a lot, but that is perfect. That's communications dealt with. I think it's time to start up and see how far this gets. It's not going to work. Everything's not going to be handled. Yeah, I'm going to have to get SME up and running. I think there's some stuff missing for SME to work properly, which is good, but uh, Stony, thank you for the 5 stream streak as well. You're probably going to be the one of the very few that maintains any level of streak. If they had it running before, but that's a funny message. Okay, so what I need to figure out right this second is for this to start up. I have these connection strings. These have an environment variable, or they have a variable because I don't want to put the password in there. I think for right this second, the best way of dealing with that is to put that in secret. I also need GitHub services project. Wait for us. Add parameter. Interesting. That's the secret true. What secrets should be managed in Vault or something like that, right? Eventually, yeah. Being that I don't have anywhere to deploy this yet, I don't have a Vault, but yeah, it should. In this case, that is just a channel URL, but that channel URL contains an identifier that if I let you see, you could put in there and get all my GitHub events. So, I mean, yeah. And the password, again, it's a development password. It's not committed to the repo, which is more than I know personally. All my usernames, passwords, service name, environment, but if I had anything that faces scrutiny, it would be a line noise stored in Vault. Yeah, and eventually, yeah, there's a lot of this that should go in key vault of some form. Being that everything's local right the second, I'm not particularly worried about that piece. A lot of that stuff as well. Once I get the configuration in place, it actually won't matter where that comes from for this. So the development environment is development environment. I can store everything as secrets in the application files. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to set up a secret, and that's going to contain this. That doesn't get committed. So if anyone else checks the code out, they also need to set that up for themselves, which is probably not the best way. But I don't have. I'm not setting up an Azure Key Vault or an AWS key store for that right this second. That's just energy I do not need to spend. Yeah, if there was more people working on it with me, yes, that's essentially what I'm about to do. Right? So the like I showed, the connection strings that I've got here now. So these were in individual projects. They're now going to get removed, right? So I don't technically now every project does not need this at all, because now they're getting put into one application that starts everything else up anyway. It does mean that I can no longer run these independently, though. That's the annoying thing that this gives. This holds me to having to start every single service. So when I want to test something now, I'm not worried about that right this second. This is a much clearer way of handling this, but I now don't, by doing this design, I don't necessarily have the ability to run independently until I do some further changes, which is probably something to do with setting these up. Yeah. Because technically this becomes module DB, yeah, um, uh, the main outbox, Kafka outbox. So they'd work locally if I figure out how to answer this question. what I'm trying to do here is move this into a more manageable things. Um, so, and as I get my head more around the deployment of this application, I'll smooth things like that out. I'm not panicked about things I've got to learn. Mm, that needs to be, that's an identity. Kubernetes and Argo for actual deployment, Docker Compose for that. So the purpose of Spire here is that I can run everything locally as they stand. All the services run under a Spire. They start up by a Spire, and then Aspire has got to the point where I can now say, now create a Kubernetes deployment from all this, and it will create specific modules for how to deploy them. So it's basically that what's the word for it? It's an infrastructure tool at the same time, so it can create all the definitions of creating the Kubernetes stuff. So it can actually become a deployment tool, and it has got that that good now. And it's no longer .NET Aspire, because you can actually do it all in TypeScript if you choose to. You don't have to use Sharp anymore. But what I'm debating right this second, so I'm okay with doing this as a full pass right this second, but I want to debate how I'm doing this environment. This is my own token replacement, right? Uh, Now I believe I can just that does not get me. Robot will need to set with and with references. Don't want to put on all Argentina. Um, so the way I have all this configured right this second, and learning here, learning more about this is basically at this point I have DevStation machine, which is an Ubuntu server, so no UI, etc. It's on there. I now have everything running, all the supporting services, Kafka, uh, console, uh, Postgres, yeah, Postgres, etc. They're all running on the Docker containers on that server. So when I start developing, I just say Docker Compose up on there, and everything runs up there. So I can. So all I'm doing now is configuring all this to know that, because obviously now when I'm running, all this dev is happening on that machine. None of it's happening on my local machine. So all the local hosts don't work if I run it on my local machine, right? Because of those servers. So um, and I kind of like this because it does mean that I can finally get a laptop and go in the living room and develop in the living room against the entire box. And furthermore, if I do have power issues still, I can move this box to a completely different room on a completely different circuit, and it'll be safe. Um, so that's a better choice. However, Um, that password that I'm using there, which is the same password for all the servers right this second, but probably shouldn't be for all the databases, not servers. Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah, I'm editing over SSH. That's what this is. So now when I start up uh, toolbox, drag you. You don't let me drag you. Can't show you what that looks like. So the JetBrains toolbox now, as soon as I add SSH, because it's on a Linux box, JetBrains was like, okay, I'm SSH into the machine. I can install what I need. There you go. So now Rider and WebStorm are installed on there, not on here. Oh, they are installed here, but they don't need to be anymore. I can install Rust Rover, IntelliJ, Golang, PyCharm, CLion, PHP Storm, RubyMine. I can install all of them, and they'll all be remote devs development. Um, so yeah, so now I'm developing remotely, but now I do have to figure out this environment variable thing for that. So dev containers, so I can switch between what service I'm actually in dev container. All the others are, yeah. I'm still trying to get my head around some of this stuff. I'm still trying to learn what is the right thing for me, but this does make sense to me. All I'm trying to do right the second is get Kaizu configured so that I can run this, um, and I can develop on it on this machine, and then I can do that tonight. That'd be awesome. Getting kind of late. Um, what I'm trying to do is not put the password in the code base. So you set it on your machine there. Now, again, these probably shouldn't have all the same password. They shouldn't all be the same user. But from the development perspective, uh, interact, but that doesn't sound like you get both standard thing working all over. I want to understand what I need to do, and I've spent I started working on this on Monday, and um, 3 times now I've gone through hours worth of work with Claude, try and get stuff done without letting it do the tooling, just kind of walking me through things, and every single time it has failed, and twice it has said, "Oh, yeah, that isn't actually possible. What I've had you do," and destroyed my configuration. So I'm not in a good mood with using uh, the LLMs right. uh, through the chat interface. But I've got some pretty clear instructions on how to get stuff. It knows about my project, and again, the amount of stuff it's had me do that I've walked through to try and learn more about what I'm actually doing and why I'm doing it, and it has let me down several times. That's where I personally feel it's the most useful for me right the second is the learning aspect of it. I want to grow, I want to understand this so that when I get to that point, I can then trust it. I can say, okay, here's the definition of what I want to do. I know what it's going to do because I've gone through this. And yeah, Yeah. So I'll pull a fast one. Yeah, and it's never getting my gear. I will I will I will fight a long time to avoid giving those this to my actual. But in this case, I was having it walk me through because I had Windows installed on the machine originally. Um, Windows is my normal dev environment. It's not too difficult, and I actually got it working, and I got the whole remote dev thing working on a Windows to Windows environment. And then I was like, okay, I need to get this started up on the machine starting up. And it said, oh, yeah, that's totally possible, but you have to use this. And I went through 2 hours worth of instructions, going back and forth, making sure I was checking things, telling it to do this. And it got to the end, it's like, oh, you told me what this error was right at the beginning. And I should have told you that this was a problem. And I'd undone everything I'd worked on for days. I was like, you even told me in your response that I clearly highlighted that was the problem at the very beginning of this conversation. So it was funny but frustrating the same. Yes, that's um relation. I'm just trying to figure out uh that's why I advocate for less understanding of the thing. Or fix it and you're working on other planks away. I'm not I don't give a crap about the throughput. I care about I don't need to be worried about getting other stuff done. And personally, the way I work, I can't set one thing going and move on to something else. It's just not the way, especially with the interactions and stuff required to do it. I just don't like letting it chug away for things. I've not seen personally any results I'm happy with doing it that way. Um, I've got things working. Don't get me wrong. I get that things work, but when I look at the quality and the style of the code, um, I'm just not that comfortable with it. So I don't like leaving it be, going off and doing other things. I'd rather be slower, right? Yeah, I get bored. That's the truth. I get bored of going back and forth with it, trying to tune it. Like I've got a lot of the Liquid Sky stuff done uh on the client side through refinement and through tuning and through fighting and whatever. And I'm more willing to deal with that on the front end because I'm not good at front end. Um uh I just don't find it as engaging, I suppose, for me. Um and I don't take any pleasure out of the results. It's a dev password. Fine. So the recommendation is basically this. we'll put these in secrets rather than in app settings. But considering this is dev, it doesn't really matter. These connection strings would be held somewhere else eventually anyway. So if this is in a key vault, these connection strings would all be in key vault. And the way .NET works is once I set it up right at deployment level, these would just be available from key vault. They wouldn't actually be here. So yeah, that's probably the equivalent of that right a second. I've only been doing agentic this year. Before it was 100% ChatGPT in a window, and I learned a lot about what the can and cannot do. Now I'm spinning 3 plates at a time constantly, and the progress has been insane. Yeah, I get it. I get what people have done. Um, and talented engineers like yourself are going to get great results. I have no doubt. And like I said, uh, this app, this website, I didn't write a single line of code for this, right? But I can sign in, I can see games, I can see prices, I can see my library, I can scroll through my games, and I'm comfortable with the output because I didn't need to spend a great deal of time. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm I'm not feeling provoked. I'm just kind of my. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that I have tried to develop with it, and in this case, this is a full Nuxt app. I've never used Nuxt. I've not even looked at the code. This the .NET I have looked at on this. I took 5 minutes and I'm like, nope, I'm not looking at that. I refuse because I'll be angry. Uh, and I've just accepted that it's working well. It pulls down. I can go into admin mode. My imports does this every Friday, and this is deployed into DigitalOcean. So every Friday evening, it downloads. Oh, I fed it some anger the other day. It downloads this, and if it doesn't, I just restart it up here. But so it's working. The site is doing um, it's doing the thing I needed to do, which was not divert me for weeks or months because I've tried this multiple times. Um, well, I wanted to concentrate on this, so this is the thing I care the most about, right? That's a nice to have, and that now means that as I get a game, I can scan a barcode, I can register the game. I now got it in my collection. I can put it on my shelf, and it's tracked, and the pricing is tracked, and all those sorts of things. So that's what I'm finding. I'm finding AI useful from a learning tool, from like I've got most of this project is described in Claude. I have a lot of detailed documents on, so it knows when I'm being inconsistent, and I really find that very useful. Um, it's able to, when I'm having a conversation on things, it brings it back to what Kaizu does, um, which is useful. So again, the context, and yeah, when I've got side projects that I want to get done, those are the sorts of things where I am more willing to just set it off on a task and let it go off and do stuff. I don't care about the result because it doesn't stress me to see poor poor design. Yeah. And with the front end for this, I have actually I'm just debating whether I should start it. Yeah, well, with the front end part of Kaizu, uh really? I've got to fix this. I'm not add resource of that name already exists. Oh, they damn it. That's me. Landings attachments. That name. Uh I need to change this. This is an app. This is not a resource. This should stop that being a problem, right? So what I was going to say there is on the front end side of things, for this, when I have used agentic uh, development for, um, what I've done is I've said, hey, when you come up against a thing, like a design issue, let's document out what that is. Let's make sure that that's a standard, and let's make sure that we are not uh, kind of like the signal stores are documented properly, the behaviors of those are documented properly. When we come up to new code, check it against these standards, do these sorts of things, make sure that the code follows this. And every time so far, it has changed its standard. Every single time come to do it, it's changed the standard, um, or ignored it completely. But I have been working towards making sure that the files are set up to make sure it does have the rule set and it follows at least some decent patterns. So the Angular side of this, I'm not that panicked about. It is doing a decent enough job. Follow the instructions on this. Not surprising. If that's DCP, though, I'm screwed. DCP executor. Oh, that's not. Is that my PC playing me? 60 seconds of the worst electronic music I've ever heard. Nice. Okay, so do that. That's my fella. Over for effects, photography, 519. HTTPS developer casual certificate file is the SHA-1 thumbprint. File is deleted with .NET Dev Certs. File is regenerated when needed. Different thumbprint. Verify the thumbprint of the exported certificate matches by running the following command: open SSL 519, no out, fingerprint, SHA-1, form 10. Yes. Um, that is not there. If the certificate thumbprint doesn't match, investigate the checking the certificate is old. So .NET Dev Certs, yes, clean. .NET Dev Certs. There's an error trusting the certificate will be trusted by some clients, but by others. Well, I did this earlier. Trust. Export. Resolve the error. Ensure that the whole It's still not there. Still not there. That one. Speaking of SSL, I've been getting my new laptop for full dev work. It generate host names for all my projects in the local only domain devace.state generate self sciences for the whole domain. Actual SSL in all my talking to it. Nice. Huh. I haven't played too much with Bell locally. I know I've got a lot of this stuff running because at one point I did have Kubernetes running locally, and I got a tunnel working, um, which was nice to get people to be able to see it. I did get some testing. That was nice. Sometimes when it's all interested, the browser warns us. Kestrel to repair the express certificate. I don't want. Okay, that'll solve it. Even more impressive that it leached my entire running set of services over SSH from the on. Literally said dev environment is here, pull it over and did. Nice. Pretty cool. Okay, so entity changes is failing. LS notification. Okay, everything's failing. Okay. Awesome. Zoom, like local Docker registry and everything, so it copied the running images over, mirrored them locally, and deployed them all by Kubernetes. Change name. Not in Kansas. In Mongo, actually, that's a good point. Docker PS. I don't see Mongo in there. That would be bad. Mongo isn't actually gonna be. Redis, Mongo, Console, Red Panda, Postgres, Paperclip. Paperclip. And that was before I used Terraform to import workflow against my Kubernetes. But the deployment modules, I can make new deployments. Highly recommend against Alpine images at any cost. DNS and shard differences make your life hell in the long term. That is not supposed to be. The problem with that one is, I don't think that's meant to be that one. Postgres 17. Alpine. Oh, that is Alpine. Is that Alpine? Damn it. I haven't run the migrations against. Oh, I haven't run the migrations against it. There's no tables there. Okay, let's fix that anyway. Mongo is there. In IO, well, I know we're gonna have to change that eventually. Didn't I just go paid or something? Redis Alpines. Alpine. Alpine. Uh-oh. Or already in use. Redis, get the latest. Give that one more try. And RabbitMQ we're not using, Prometheus we're not using, Papercoat, N8M we're not using, Mongo, latest. We're not using Kafka right this second. I'm using Red Panda in place of Kafka. Console latest, that's still a danger. Need to I'll restart this. But the the good news is that most of this is actually getting to the point where it is out of the box running. Um, that's what I've used this for. This fresh start has been a okay. Are things working? So now I can do Docker compose profile because he's got it in his actual documentation somewhere. Boy, or boy is the integration. Come on, network not found. Changes the the irony. I changed the application now. PG SQL password. SQL PG host. Why is that PG password not? Where's PG host coming from? Oh, because it's in run all. Sorry, idiot. I got hard coded. This is one of the things I did use. Interesting. PG host, logos, PG user. This is one of the things I did use AI to help build out. It's going to be a pain in the ass. That can't be that. Good. Okay, so those variables being passed. Is equal username. Interesting. We just completely busted it. Recommended plugin, not a host. Local. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so that's the name. Okay, it's fine. But oh, there we go. Okay. Here we have tables, description. Okay. I haven't even got to the hard part of this. That's the fun part. Okay, so let's see if that behaves any differently. Drive me crazy. That doesn't exist. Your instructions are wrong. I don't have any CA certificates. This is not happening. Funny thing is, notifications infrastructure receivers is the only one meant to be the only one actually showing that it's erroring, but every other thing is erroring. I don't think it's pulling a connection string. Timeout occurred. Unspecified localhost 20. That's Mongo. Mongo is not running, so that's actually accurate. Find one that is using tenant management's working fine. Organization management API. Huh? Organization management is. Oh, hold on. Interesting. Okay, so Mongo is not running. Why is Mongo not running? Different. Maybe. Check. Source. ODB. Test connection. Dev station. Yes, nice. Nope. Encore not running. Boy, Bucker up. Congo, maybe. Ah, detected Linux kernel 7. MongoDB 8 utilizes a known issue, and you will container will not start by default on 619. There's your problem. MongoDB 8 and newer versions use Google's TC malloc memory allocate dated in October 20 per CPU cache. Better performance. This change introduced a known incompatibility with Linux kernel versions 619 and later, including 7 generic. Okay. Workaround. Downgrade the kernel, not an option. Upgrade Mongo to a patch version that includes uh well, that ain't healthy, is it? Just realized, by the way, my stream is in 720p. What the heck? I know I can't change it now, but what? Twitch, come on. I enabled enhanced broadcasting. It enhanced it, all right. Well, 2 hour first stream, mate, it's fine. Um, well, this is interesting. So there's no way there's no fix for that. It's not been rolled out to community. 8.4. Well, Docker community with Mongo. Well, that's a bit of a blocker. So the change to make it work with version 7 of the Linux kernel is a relatively new one, and it hasn't made it through to the community server yet. The way I'm finding this, because that's the best I can do, and that doesn't work. Now, this is an instance where the documentation might not have caught up to the AI struggle. Going into OT again. Another in the break. Oh, a red card for us. First play last night. But keep an eye on these things. So what I'm doing right this second is I'm saying if it is even possible to get MongoDB to work, because if it's not, I've got bigger problems. Because I've built a lot of stuff to rely upon MongoDB. Short version, this isn't your setup, it's a known upstream incompatibility between MongoDB 8 rendered Linux kernel 6.9 and your 7 generic kernel 04. Installed 2604, it's an LTS version, squarely in the affected range. No matter bumping, the 8 tag fixes it since every 8 release ships the same broken mallet. This is a global problem, not a local one. Two real paths. A clean fix into a 7x. 7x predates the new per CPU malloc. Fine on kernel 7. This is durable movement until MongoDB re-vendors a patch from malloc. The workaround, if you specifically need 8, set an envar to sidestep the conflict, but note you're on a Ryzen AI Max, then 5 that crashes off an 8, not just the. That's okay. Well, I think I'm stuck there then. Because the drivers, the EF core drivers, will likely have an issue with. I'm going to try it because I have nothing to lose at this. Unexpected. Thanks. Latest 8348. Got one high severity vulnerability and one medium severity vulnerability. Oh no, sorry. It's on Linux. It's got 9 criticals, 18 highs, 43 mediums, and 12 lows. Oh, with 3 unspecified. So only a little bit scary. Like the community. Let me use Mongo. Go community server. Nice. Uh, 7-0. Excellent. Last push 21 hours. UI. Slightly healthier. What the hell? MongoDB 5 requires a CPU with AVX support, and your current system does not appear to have that. Okay. Anyone got any suggestions for replacements for MongoDB? But I want a document database. Apparently. Oh, that, quite frankly, is a load of bollocks. I can't run 7 because my CPU doesn't support 7, and I can't run 8 because the kernel doesn't support 8. And it looks like 7 isn't even supported by this kernel either. So my next option would be to downgrade to, would be to install 24.04 Ubuntu server. So I get an older kernel version. Well, the kernel can be updated, right? So, point of it, that work. That actually work that way? And like if I download 24.04, does that mean I get kernel 6? There's a maximum, or does it actually upgrade itself to 7 anyway? Is it like a maximum supported kernel version for Linux? Like kind of. Oh, sorry, dog. Sorry. Um, no hard baked, but the kernel needs basically decoupled, so fine. Kernel's minimum request for Ubuntu that supported track is the B. The kernel's over the practical answer is usually you ride whatever HTTP catching you. Kernel 7 does mainline is still in 6 series, then the major version book was arbitrary. Oh, I didn't pick my kernel version. I've got what I've got. So quite frankly, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know what I can do. Everything else is guesswork. So the benefit of having MongoDB is I have the EF core drivers for MongoDB. I can develop against Mongo, and the code looks almost identical to the EF core for um, um, you know, in extra time, evolve. Um, that's interesting. They both went into extra time. They both ended 2-1. They both thought it were very. I mean, I didn't watch the games, but they were quite hard fought. Switzerland got a red card in that as well. Most of it. So not going as smooth as I wanted to do. Yes, too strong free open. Ferret DB, fully open source MongoDB alternative. PostgreSQL. Useful when you need MongoDB API compatibility without MongoDB SPL license. Tweaks the MongoDB wire protocols to existing Mongo drivers. Code keeps working. The localized substitute, swap the engine key document code. Postgre plus JSONB, the global object. You already run Postgres across Liquid Sky. This consolidates infra rather than adding JSONB with GIN indexes. Giving you full SQL ASCII. Trade-off, you'd remodel access. So the reason I'm using document storage is because I want to store. I only have a need to store values, more flexible. I don't want to have to define schema. I want it to be a little bit more dynamic. How it's storing it and how it's retrieving it. That is that is a that is a screeching halt. Really upsetting. That is really upsetting. Changes. Well, I'm not even calling that. Changes. Oh no, I am. MongoDB versions 8.0.2.1 and you often fail to start on kernel 7 due to incompatibilities. 8.0.4 is confirmed to work on kernel 7. It says if I try and put the workaround the CPU that I'm running false problem. Could we downgrade via apt? So what I've done is I've just done some basic searching to find out about the Linux kernel. What's the biggest seven? Rust is now a core language. Not something that's going to be big up on my list right now. Revamped hybrid CPU scheduler, self-healing file system, EDP performance in IPv6, AMD ROCm native packages. That would be useful. Qualcomm full ARM support, AI assisted code development. GPU memory management. So seems I got some thinking to do. My two options are downgrade the kernel and hope that it works fine. Wipe the machine, install 2404, and hopefully that comes out of the box with 619 and don't have an issue. Next option would be to replace Mongo, but that would mean replacing everything in communications that uses it, things that use it in notifications, nothing that view uses it. So it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would mean significant rework. I think changes usually well. Yes, changes. All the changes stuff uses it, and I benefit from a document DB there. But I have to change all the design, all the code, and deal with that. I could try and hack the workaround in there, but I don't think that's actually available in the community release. I think that's only in the full server release, which I do not have license. I have some thinking to do. I've based a lot of this stuff around Mongo. But anyway, I'm going to call it there because it is 1:45. I need to get some sleep. Um, so, hey, dog. um, thank you for coming and hanging out with me, those who have. I do appreciate it. Joining me on a return to streaming. I will think about this more over the weekend and probably do a stream in the week, going over some of this stuff. See, see where I am. But I also have to get the other machine started up tomorrow because I need to try and make sure I don't have any dev missing. I've got a feeling that I'm missing changes that I've pushed. So that said, we'll end. Catch you next. For joining me. Bye all. Good night.